we're going live. We must. Oh, what is it? Good afternoon, South Africa. This is Lois Ombete of Group 500. I am live this afternoon with Dr. Sfiso Ntombela, just to make sure that I am not talking to robots. Dr. Sfiso, are you there? Can you greet me?
Here, Mr. Mbete. Greetings to everyone. I hope you are well and keeping safe.
Thank you. Ndiyaphila mhlekazi, maniqale ke nibulise ngesintu mntaka Mahlobo. Kunjani kodwa?
Hayi siyancenga mfowabo baba siyancenga. Impilo kuphela.
Hayi ke, no, that's good. Hey, mhlobam, for the sake of our viewers, and this is Group 500 Investments. We are live on Facebook. We want to invite everyone to join us, also to like and share. What is these things they call watch party, so that we can get as many viewers as possible. So, Dr. Sfiso, we are going to have a nice, relaxed conversation today. Our topic is Gentleman's View on Women Empowerment in the Agricultural Sector. I believe that is the field that you operate in, and knowing you very well, the passion you have in terms of development, in terms of the sector itself, your knowledge, and also, you know, first of all, let me just first say thank you very much for agreeing to speak with us and sharing with us your knowledge. And I know you have such a busy schedule, and we really appreciate you making time to speak to us. Now, it is Women's Month. Group 500 is an enterprise development company meant to develop women-owned entities. So it is Women's Month. So we actually giving our support to women, and we want to address issues and make a stand on issues relating to women. For example, we know if we're talking about women, for a very long time, women have been marginalized, women have been abused. There's all sorts of negativities that happened against women. So today, we are not talking about only that, but we are actually talking about how do we empower women. On top of that, what is our view to empower women, all sorts of things. So I'm gonna give to you just to do an introduction of yourself, and tell us who you are, where you come from, and also, you know, where you work, what you do, and all those, just nicely, just a nice conversation of introduction of yourself.
No, ngibonga kakhulu mhlobo wami, and thank you very much to Group 500 for inviting me. I think I also want to greet everyone who is in attendance and all the partners of the Group 5 who have made this session a success. And it's always encouraging to see companies like Group 5 creating such platform where we can be able to talk about such critical issues, where particularly in the agricultural sector, we know it's a sector that is very important for household food security, job creation, as well as the improvement of our rural areas. As you know, when I got this invitation from Group 5, one of the things that I got myself thinking is that I entered agricultural sector and food sector, especially in the policy and program influence level.
So, sorry, Dr. Ndombela, just to interrupt you for a second. I just want, because I don't want us to be arrested. I just want to correct your pronunciation. It's Group 500. There is Group 500 and there's also
Group 5.
Group 5. So Group 5 is construction. And
no, I'm with you. I'm with you. Apologies for that. Apologies. But I guess what I was trying to make is that I see Group 500 as having influence, like that company you've mentioned, in the near future. I think what I was trying to say is that when I entered the agri space, and when you talk to some of the prominent decision makers, I often accuse them that the issues of youth in agriculture is spoken and discussed by people that are not youth. And unfortunately, today I'm one of the culprits who are breaking the very same law, that the issues of women, we are discussing it as men today. But I think it's also important to also introspect ourselves and to say how women, what is our view? And I think I really much like that part, to say it's by no means trying to say we are the monopolies of the information, but it's simply just our view, as you said, that the casual understanding of that. But on my opening remark, Mbete, I think it's also very important to acknowledge the great work and the stride on the protest that is currently happening in Parliament as we speak, by the women in wine, especially the Black women in wine, where they're trying to say, view us and give us the opportunities that we all seek to deserve. And I think these are the type of initiative, and these are the type of efforts that we need to encourage further. Now, myself, my name is Fiso Ndombela. I work for the organization called the National Agricultural Marketing Council, which is a national agency of the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. I'm very passionate about the issues of progressive nature, of changing the policies, creating equal opportunities, reducing inequality in our sector, as well as promotion, especially of the vulnerable groups, as I always, most of my writings and my work, I try by all means to say the issues of youth, the issues of women, people living with disabilities, farm dwellers and rural communities are very closely passionate to me, to say, how do we make these vulnerable groups in our sector have equal opportunities, but also partner and learn from the best success models that the other groups in the sector have benefited for the last century of years. So I think today, with the invitation of Group 500, I'm hoping that we can be able to elaborate on some of the key issues that we think as men, and some of the barriers that we need to stop so that we increase the participation of women in our sector.
Okay, no, thank you for that intro, and I think it's mouthful on its own. And I'm gonna ask you, my friend. I know, first of all, you are Dr. Sfiso Ndombela. Are you a traditional doctor? Are you a medical doctor? Or what kind of a doctor are you? Before I want you to give us, so that you can motivate also young people, women, and everyone. Though we're speaking specifically about women, but I want us to give us a background of your education. And even though I'm gonna ask you, after having done all that, to tone it down to the level of a grassroots level, and be able to speak to a gogo or a young lady or someone who is in a village called Bomvini in Kajane, in the former Transkei, and also be able to speak to someone who is in Khayelitsha, and also speak to someone who is in Plattekloof. So I'm gonna have to ask you to sum it up nicely for us so that we can speak to all these levels, and we also find a common ground as to how can we work together from the bottom of the pyramid to the top side, and also to the people regarded as below poverty line. So first, give us the first question I asked you, your doctorship, and are you a doctor, traditional doctor, and so on?
I wish I was a doctor in traditional medicines or something. But yes, I'm a very simple guy. I mean, you know very well, we grew up in the mountains of Stellenbosch for a very long time. Originally, for those the viewers of yours, I hail from, I'm a village boy. I hail from Mtubatuba in KwaZulu-Natal, northern coast of KwaZulu-Natal. But I'm a doctor by academics, so I have a PhD in economics.
Yes.
I started down there, my education in Stellenbosch University, and I finished my PhD here in Pretoria University. And it's in economics, applied economics in agriculture, specifically on the issues of policy. I think for me, the topic like this one we're having today, as you're saying, how do you link with these two? You know, for me, when we talk, we can talk almost everything else. There's always two things when we talk about our view on the woman and how do we ensure we create a space and we reduce this feminism that we see, or the marginalization of our sisters and mothers and all the women out there who has aspiration to participate in the sector. The first thing first, which I think for me needs to really be looked at, and it's every level, whether you're looking at the policymaker levels in terms of public services, or whether you're looking at the CEOs of big corporations and organizations, is that women are not given equal opportunities as men. They are not even in strategic position of leadership. Why I'm mentioning this thing? Because it's so important that if women are not there, we as men, we speak about what they need and what they vision on their behalf. So their voices are marginalized in these tables. For me, that is a very big issue that we need to start dealing with it. Yes, in agriculture it has progressed. We have seen in the last 20 years where the complexion have changed from your dominant white old men. We're starting to see people of color getting, but it has mainly been men. We have not really seen a wave of women in these strategic positions. And I think if we can just get that, and this is a challenge to everyone who's participating in agriculture. That's the first thing. The second one for me is the issue of systems and policy. Sikhuluma with how we need to increase the participation of women, how we need to create more opportunities for them. But the manner in which the policies are designed, the programs are designed, and this is a systematic issue in my view, it already starts to make it more difficult for people of women to enter and participate in the agricultural sector. And those are the two things for me, in my view, that if we really have to be creating an equal society that is fair to both men and women, particularly the month of women, we really need to start making sure that we bring them on board in all those two areas. And they do this, and they even teach us, because we might oversimplify things that are very critical from the woman's struggle point of view. And from us as men, because for a very long time we come from an advantageous position, we tend to think things are that easier even for women. And I sometimes I engage with my counterparts in my semi-equals in the policy space, even in the practice. And you start to see they view things in a more different way. And perhaps they even can bring in efficiencies that we need in our sector. From the academia, we need to start seeing more lecturers of women, to the businesses, to the policy making. That for me is a first start. Then everything else would come into place.
Yes. No, that's great. That's great. But I'm glad to announce to you that Group 500 we are actually empowering 100 women in agriculture. Okay, well, ours primary agriculture, that of planting veggies, piggery, poultry, and so on. But we are embarking on a journey to empower 100 women in the Western Cape for starters. But it's so strange that we said in the Western Cape, but there is a huge need countrywide. Like now, as we speak, I can tell you Eastern Cape and KZN and other provinces, we have more than 100 people phoning us and trying to find out what do we do and when are we doing KZN, when are we doing Eastern Cape and so on. But what I'm trying to emphasize is that our journey has begun, that we start with 100 women here in Western Cape. And yes, this vision so far, it looks like it's impossible, but we really have started. And obviously, we as part of what we do is actually a research as to how do we go about this and then empower these women. So from your point of view, what are the opportunities for women in agriculture? Obviously, starting at a level, at a grassroots level, as I've said, like for example, just before you answer me, we've got a girl here called Numisa, who is one of our, if I should say, apple of an eye, because what she did was shocking to everyone in South Africa. This girl decided she's going to plant spinach in the midst of COVID-19, and her spinach grew nicely in an informal settlement in Mfuleni, in one of the informal settlements here in Cape Town. And that girl just decided to harvest that spinach in one day and sold it, and it sold everything in one day, which has really shown us that this thing is not, you don't have to be highly educated to do it. You put the spinach on the ground and the spinach grew and you sell it, you create sustainable livelihood. But that being as important as it is, how do we now get Unomisa into a space whereby she will be trained and she will also be given a platform and grow with that which has happened haphazardly to be growing that much. So I want to find out from you, what are the opportunities for women in the agricultural space?
Yeah, that is a very inspiring story of that you talk about. And I think those are the good stories to convert them into good businesses, so that they don't just remain an inspiring story, but you can start seeing Unomisa in 5 years or 3 years' time, employing almost half of that agricultural population in Mfuleni, as you say. Here's the thing, which I think we often don't want to talk about it. And opportunities in agriculture are immensely. Remember, agriculture, every person, by the virtue that you are alive, you are a participant in agriculture. Either you are selling it, or you are talking about it, or you are eating it. And you almost every one of us in the world, we have 3 meals a day, and that's agricultural products. So opportunities are there. Here where the issue for me that I think is particularly to young South Africans out there. We need to be very honest about the sector that we're talking about, so that we don't create an illusion to say, no, everybody can come into agriculture. It's a very complicated sector. That's the first of all. And it requires a lot of work. And there are a lot of risks, because even if you are well educated, you have passion, you also, a lot of things are outside your control, like your climate, the spinach. If you didn't sell a spinach in one day, that spinach, because it's a perishable product, would have died in the next day. So there are a lot of risk also in agriculture, but there are a lot of opportunities. I just want to highlight a couple of areas. Vegetables is certainly, because people are starting to eat healthy. So vegetables really, it's a golden opportunity for everyone who want to come in, and it's a low cost if you want. It requires less amount of money for you to enter that industry, but it's a high value product. You also have now your niche product like your blueberries, which can come in the Western Cape, of course, fruits like your pome and grapes and stone are still the very good product. But even in the wine industry, for that matter, it's a very good product. But you can even talk about your grains and stuff. But while I'm saying opportunities are there, and you have all these institutions like CEDA, the Department of Agriculture in the Western Cape, CACIDRA, and all these places, one challenge to realize all these opportunities I'm talking about as South African is to say, how do we ensure that once you have this opportunity, I can be able to access imali so that ngizoqala ngiplant into yami, ngiplant umhlaba wami and become a farmer. And we shouldn't lie to ourselves about this thing. Access to funding, especially for agriculture, it's almost impossible for imagine or for a starter, let alone for women in agriculture. Yeah. It's a difficult situation to do. And without money, we're not saying access to grant, but just access to money which is affordable. The credit that you can pay back. It's almost impossible. Because first of all, they will ask you for your balance sheet of 3 years. Where will you get a balance sheet? I'm a professional in the sector, in the whole senior position, but I can't even access some of these requirements that are put in place. Imagine again now for Sisnumisa or for Mama Madlamini out there. And I often talk about it, and I'm trying to emphasize it so that we understand that it's a role of me and you and everyone else to be realistic about this and start pestering our policymakers, both in government as well as our industry captains in the private sector, to say, create solution. When you say, if Nedbank or Land Bank or ABSA or Standard Bank or any other commercial bank says there's money to encourage young farmers, they shouldn't put lending criteria that are impossible to attract, because that's often what you hear. You hear, good, there's a money in this institution, but when you try to apply for it, the lending criteria doesn't cater for the people that need the money. And those are some of the things which I think, as an active young South African, we need to be able to say, create systems and solutions that talk to us. And that's the only way we can create opportunities for women. So that's the first thing. The second thing for me, I think, of the opportunities that are there is the access to market and how your big corporations can create a supplier development program that also talks and cater even for the smallest guy in the farm. And these things, unfortunately, they were existing before 1996. There were decisions that were taken to remove them, and those decisions are constantly increasing the inequalities that we see today. So I'm trying to say all these opportunities are there so that tomorrow when I get a call saying, no, fees on opportunities. We need to be very conscious to say, but there's still a lot of work to remove some of these policies, some of these programs, and some of the decisions that we now know with the circumstances of today. These decisions and these policies are actually working against creating opportunities for everyone. They are only protecting and creating opportunities for a very few players, which is not a problem on its own. But the problem is that once you don't create a message for everyone, they start not being able to participate in agriculture. And hence, we are talking about today. And I think for me, as a last point, women have really shown to say they can turn around the agriculture into the great sectors. I say this because if you're looking at the Western Cape Department of Agriculture, it's been headed by a woman, Joan Exoc, for a very long time before the new HOD Umohale took over, which I believe strongly that he will only just take the department to greater heights. But even if you're looking at the economics division within the Western Cape, has been doing very well. But even on the industries, if you're looking at the women like Linsley in the Women of Moher, she's been doing extremely well. In the Western Cape, table grapes used to be headed by a woman called Elaine Alexandra. So where women have been given opportunities, we have seen incredible results. No, I'm not saying men can't deliver the same results, but I'm just saying the very few that have been given opportunities, they have really delivered. And can you imagine if we can expand this, what will happen?
Okay, no, we'll talk about men some other time. Now we still have to assist our sisters. You have to assist our sisters, and we want to see if we really can support our sisters. What will happen? Because remember, these people have carried us for 9 months. If you leave a woman with kids, that woman will grow those kids. The list is endless in terms of when we can support women, what we can achieve. But what I want to, one of the things that you are mentioning about the banks, I want to make mention that we have a very good working relationship with Nedbank here in Western Cape. Ashrin, who is the provincial small business manager. We are building up a very nice working relationship, and we think in the talks, I'm sure she is also watching us as we speak, and obviously they will capture this conversation with us and make use of it at the same time. So it is very important. I just want to mention that because I think sometimes one of the challenges that we are facing is that some people don't know what to do until people come up with ideas like this, and also an opportunity arises when we actually identify the need to solve the problem. So I just want to make mention of that, and then and recognize we had a function on the 14th of August where we had Dr. Mampele Rampele, and also one of the speakers was Ashrin from Nedbank, was the manager, the provincial manager for small business. It was very beautiful to see that people were listening attentively and have attended. It was one of its kind where we did it on Facebook as well, and the followership and the engagements we got from that, it was so amazing. It really shows that South Africans want to do and support the women initiative. So we almost through with this interview, Namdaka Mashal. I just want to also come back to you and say and ask you directly from your company's point of view. What are you going to do for us as Group 500 with our women in terms of support? What if you want to ask for support from your side? How can you do that? I'm putting you on the spot right now.
No, that's perfectly fine. So in our organization, one of the programs we have, which we cooperated with at some point with private institutions as well as other public institutions, we actually run a program that empower women also to be having access, those that are planning to have access into markets, and we link them with different markets, but also assist them to be business ready, like the specific business operation services, so that they can also access funding and they can be able to be supported by different institutions to have access. So we can explore a way of how do we partner with that current program that we run through our agribusinesses. And some of the women that have been successful in agriculture through that program have even been linked and taken and exposed to international markets. So those are some of the programs I can clearly see the alignment about it. But and with appreciating the opportunity, I just want to close with this remark for me. I think, especially from the food side, supply is a very big issue, especially for the small guys that need to get into the market. And there is really both South African cooperatives. They run really, some of them, they run really good supplier development programs that are assisting to bring every blood on the. And you mentioned a very good point. It is also up to every young woman out there to be able also to go seek the information. I think that point you made is very important, because the information can't come from you sitting at the back. So even the banks, I know some of them, they run really good programs that are trying to really empower women. So the two things I want to close about is that you need also to be an active citizen and go look for information. Opportunities are there, and you can be able to be assisted in public sector as well as in the private sector. There are really good programs that we can share with everyone that knows that. But the point really that I'm trying to really guide and drive home, especially also to a lot of women in the world out there, which I think in my opening remarks when I said the inspiring actions by the women in business, in wine business today, it's really what we need, because these small ad hoc programs that are run by either private sector or by the banking or by the cooperatives on their own are not going to be able to create massive opportunities for our women, but for our South Africans in entirety. And up until we start challenging the system, we start challenging the policies, we start challenging the decision in terms of designing the programs, we'll still be having this discussion in 10 years' time. And we won't be seeing meaningful impact. Yes, training, providing training and skills is good, but then what do you do with that skill and training if you can't access funding? And up until we start listening to the politicians, whether we're challenging a minister of the Western Cape to say in his budget speech, let him ring fence the budget for women in his budget, so that we know and put it very clear what are the lending criteria to get that money. If we start seeing the CEOs of businesses, whether it's in the vegetable, in the fruits, or in the wine, say in our budget, this is a ring fence money for women that can be able, because we don't want to give handouts, but make sure you have a credit facility that is affordable, that everyone can access it. And I think for me, that is a key to really seeing a revolutionized agriculture in this sector. Because with the closure of Agricultural Credit Board, which was a system that was created during the apartheid time to cater for the most vulnerable and credit unworthy farmers. That system created the big commercial farmers as we know today. But that system got closed with the democratic system. And that is the one of the areas, in my view, it's not all of them, I must say that, but it's one of the areas that continues to exclude smallholder farmers into the agricultural sector. And up until we start solving those decisions, we're not going to move. And so while I'm appreciating the small opportunities, but we also shouldn't lose the bigger picture and where we should really unlock it. And that can't be done by the banks. That can't be done by the private sector. Public working with the private sector have to take those decisions.
Dr. Ndomela, we thank you very much for your time. I don't know if we will have some small time where we can entertain some questions. Do we have some questions where we can answer? Do we have some people who want to ask some questions to you? We will open that small time and then release you to go do your other things. I know you are a very busy man, and I appreciate you being able to join us this afternoon. But just maybe another closing remark. We are still under the pandemic of COVID-19. What do you see? What is the future looks like, and how do we find opportunities in this situation and also navigate through them?
We are seeing a shift where people, because they are practicing social distancing, we are seeing a shift and an increase in people having online purchases, even on food and delivery. And these are the new opportunities for even the women to be able to transport and supply this food. And we are seeing that increase in terms of people demanding localized food. So we can now start seeing more persons processing this food and producing and packaging local. And I really hope with the next time we are engaged here, Mr. Mbete, through this Group 500 linkages, is that we'll be showing to say how have we graduated those 100 women that are in your program to be viable businesses and link them with the markets, link them with the funding that they need. And I hope that will be the challenge for yourself, but also for the institution like ours and any other institution that can lay a hand into the good initiative that you have started.
Hayi mfana kaNtombela siyabulela kakhulu man ngexesha lakho. Kambe ungwandawoni phaa eKZN?
Ngwasemtubatuba kwaNkomoka eXhosha.
Oh, hey kukude khona lapha ndake ndaya kwenye indawo phaa eMtuba emngcwabeni. Hey, I ate a lot of meat there. I said a lot of meat. I ate a lot of meat that side.
No, it's one of the most beautiful places in the world, and we have the warmest weather and the climate. This is a fact, a scientific fact. Mtuba is because we have the wetlands, Isimangaliso wetlands. It's in the Guinness record. It's the biggest in the world around there. So people can come. Nabantu bakhona bahle,
Dr. Swiss, I hope you're not marketing yourself here. But yeah, thank you very much for your time. And really, I think we have graduated from the age where we would hang out and have good time. But now seeing ourselves as being part of the solution in this South Africa that is full with turbulent troubles. And I think we've got the future on our hands. And I want to encourage you, because you guys are at the helm of things. And I want to encourage you to keep on doing good. And let's take this South Africa to the next level and be part of the greater solution. So thank you, Mr. Ntombela. Thank you very much for your time.
I appreciate it. And thank you very much for inviting me. And thank you very much to everyone who tuned in and listened to us. We hope we're able to add some insight into their businesses and to their lives across the South Africa. Bonga mina baba.
Sure, Mhlekazi. So, enkosi kakhulu. Mahlobo. Thank you. Thank you.